Welcome everybody to another episode of the Decision Hour. I'm Adam, and with me, as always, my partner in crime who keeps me grounded, Patti.
Adam, how's it going?
It's going great. I'm super stoked about today's topic.
Yeah, I can tell. You didn't even tell me you were going to start the show. You were just like, boom,
we're in. We're doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell everybody what we're talking about today?
I am so excited to say that we're going to be talking about retro video games.
Video games!
I know, it's so fun. Just so happens, I was talking to a friend last night about like old video games and stuff, so I'm super pumped about this.
So as a kid, what was like the first like gaming console or system that you started on?
Oh my goodness. So when I was really little, I remember having an old computer.
Okay.
It was like a VIC-20 or something like that. But it was an old computer. I think it was made before I was born. I don't even know. I just remember it was like a super old computer, but it had games on it. But the games were like crazy because you had to use it was a Commodore 64. That's what it was called. And you had to use like the space bar to make things go forward, and you had to use like the arrow keys on your keyboard to make the game go. So I could play like Pac-Man on it, and then there was some other game. It was so fun. You could only use 2 words, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was about this guy. He was stranded on an island, kind of like the guy on Castaway, but he was stranded on an island, and you had to get him off of the island by only using 2 words at a time. So you would say like, go east, and then it would pop up some text, and it would say something like, you are now sitting at the top of a coconut tree or something like that. So, I mean, that's the very first recollection I have.
The very first one that I had was at my grandparents' house. They had like it had like 2 knobs on it. It was like a red deck, and it sat flat on the floor, and it was Pong. P-O-N-G,
Oh.
Pong. You remember that? Like, it was like,
Kind of.
it was like,
Yeah.
it was like 2 sticks. It was almost like a tennis or ping pong kind of thing,
like,
back and forth, like deet, deet, and that's all I remember. I remember that. And then shortly after that, the neighbors had the full size arcades that they got somewhere, and they had Donkey Kong, and I want to say like Centipede or like Space Invaders, one of those 2. I forget which one, but they had 2 of them, and it was like the thing was busted open, so you could just click on how many times you wanted to play, and you had unlimited times that you could play it and whatnot. So that was my grandparents' neighbors. And
that is cool.
And then they had an Atari, so that was like all the old Atari games. I loved being a gamer as a kid. So it was like I think I've owned just about every system sometime in my lifetime, with the exception of maybe a few.
Well, I know my uncle, he used to have some of those old games. So I kind of get confused as to, were they my games that I would play, or they were just old games that my grandma had sitting around at her house that were older than what I was. I'm pretty sure that they were older than what I was. But what I really remember growing up on is like Nintendo, and I had a Sega Genesis, and so I would play like Mario Brothers and Donkey Kong, and
I miss those games. I had a couple of years ago, I got the vintage Atari, because I remember playing like Space Invaders was one, 1942 was another game, Donkey Kong, and then you had like Pac-Man, the Cubert, you was one that you had mentioned.
Miss Pac-Man for the girls.
Miss Pac-Man for the girls. Yep. Yeah, I'm trying to think. God, there were so many Atari games that were out there, like Indy 500, I think it was called, another Indy.
Yeah.
That was one. And then I remember like Sega Genesis. I remember I had Tecmo Bowl, because it was like when Bo Jackson was really big. Was it Mike Tyson's Punch Out? But I think that was for Nintendo.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, Tyson's Punch Out, and then of course all the Mario games. You had to go through all of those. That's crazy. Paperboy was another one that I liked. I forget which system that was for, but Paperboy was.
Yeah. I think that was Nintendo.
Another. Yeah, I think so too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those were fun times. I still like playing video games. A couple of years ago, my son and I went and we were playing the Terminator game. And we beat the whole game. Like we took, I don't know how many quarters that thing took from us, but we played that whole thing and went all the way to the end and beat the Terminator game. So it was super cool. That was only like, I don't know, within the last 5 years. So it was so fun. What about like one of my favorite places to go as a kid was Chuck E. Cheese, because they'd have like all those games there. Oh, they had Dungeons and Dragons, which I always wanted to play, but my mom wouldn't let me play it. I don't know why, but she said it was like satanic or something. I don't know. She probably didn't want that machine eating her quarters. I don't know. But like skee ball and that game where you whack-a-mole.
Yeah, whack-a-mole. Duck Hunt. You remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember one of my favorite ones was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ones.
Oh my goodness.
For Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
That was yeah, like totally dating ourselves, but
oh boy.
Mortal Kombat, which is still a popular one, I think. Like now I had and then I'm trying to think. I went to I eventually had a PS3 and PlayStation 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I was into like the sports games. I was always into like, the Madden. You always had to have the newest Madden, right?
Yeah.
And then we had the newest NBA hoops game because I was a basketball player and I loved playing.
Oh, that was fun. Yeah.
And then I had the Tiger Woods game when it came out because I was also big into golf. So it was I had that. One. And I wasn't really into like the storyline games.
Mm-hmm.
And then I discovered there's a game for PS3, Assassin's Creed.
Oh, I heard about that. I never did get into that one.
And that one, I didn't do the first one. I ended up buying the second one, and I've been hooked. I've had every one since. And I don't have a system now. My son's got a PS4, and he's bought in every year. That's kind of our game that him and I play together. Mm-hmm. And we always get the new Assassin's Creed game when it comes out, just to stick with it. And it's freaking it's a storyline game, and it's awesome. But it was like one of those. I guess I should have used this a couple weeks ago when we did the guilty pleasure one. Guilty pleasure playing video games would have been one. I could sit down and play Assassin's Creed, and next thing you know, like 3 hours go by, and you're like, oops, probably should have put the timer on.
There was some game that I bought my kids for Christmas one year, and I wish I could remember it because I want it again. We never should have gotten rid of it. It could pick your body up, so you did not have to use any remote controls at all. So it's not super vintage, but I mean, it's probably like a decade old. But you could run through obstacle courses and stuff, and you could like play the Dance Revolution with it. But there were no cords. So you literally, like if you jump up, you have to like raise your hands above your head if you're going to shoot like a basketball into a hoop or whatever. It was so fun.
Really?
I missed that. Yeah, I need to find out what that was. That was fun.
So I'm looking at a couple of games right now, and ones that I couldn't think of, and I just remember. Missile Command was an Atari game. I remember that one. Legend of Zelda. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
I already said Pong. Centipede.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of a short list they gave us there.
Yeah. Centipede was all right.
Asteroids.
I didn't love a lot of the video games until the Mario Brothers came out, and that was definitely my favorite.
Is there a particular Mario game that was your favorite?
I loved like Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3. Where what's the first one? You have to run through the castle, you have to go through the moat, you have to kill the dragon, and raise the flag at the end of each level. That was fun. And bang your head on the bricks, like you can jump up to bang your head.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. And actually, about five years ago, I went and I bought another Nintendo, and we played it for a while, but it did get old really fast because we're spoiled nowadays. When you die at the end of a game now, you can actually go back to the level you were on. Well, back in the day, when you died, you had to start all over at level 1 again.
So here's what I'm looking at, this website, and it's got Dig Dug. You remember that one? With a little
Yeah,
guy,
I
little
do.
mine. That
Yeah.
came out in 1982.
Wow.
Sonic the Hedgehog, the original one,
Yeah.
came out in 1991.
That's the one I remember. And that during that time, so I guess I must have been in like junior high school and high school. I play the video games mostly because the older ones I didn't love. Like I know what they were. There was one game that my uncle had. It was not on a video system, but it was a handheld football game.
Oh yes,
It was like a white. little-
I had that. Yeah, that was my favorite. I love that.
Yeah, I
Loved
did like
it.
that one.
Do you remember? Okay, so Space Invaders, which was one of the ones that I liked as a kid because
Mm-hmm.
it was easy, came out in 1978.
Wow.
That's as old as me.
I wasn't born in the 70s.
I'm just
Moving
gonna
on.
leave that one alone.
Moving on. Move on.
Jeez.
I
Oh,
know, doing these shows, these retro shows, really.
Here's one. SimCity 2000. That was a computer game. It was like you could build your own metropolis and build your own city into a metropolis, and then you had to manage. It was kind of like you had to manage the budget and like how do you raise taxes to build the roads and stuff like that. That was a game that we started. I remember in school, and another game that I remember or two of them. Where in the World Was Carmen Sandiego? I think was the name of it, and then the Oregon Trail.
Oh my gosh.
You remember that
I
one?
didn't play those, but I remember hearing about them. Yeah,
Oregon Trail, like, oh, we're gonna, you got malaria, so you died. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Like during that time, like in the early 80s, like super early 80s, I remember I would have rather been outside playing and stuff. So it wasn't until I was a little bit older that I started really liking the video games.
What about Frogger?
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
Frogger was a good one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What else? Retro video games. There's got to be some other ones.
Yeah, if you're listening, definitely put some comments below. What were your favorite games?
I think Doom that came out in the early 90s, but I never really got into that one. I think that was like kind of the first like alien type first alien type show where you like going room to room and trying to kill aliens and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Tekken 3 or Tekken was one that was kind of like a Mortal Kombat type, one-on-one fighting game. I'm trying to think of some other ones. I think I said Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles earlier. It's like I'm going through like a list, and it's just like crazy to see some of these old games. Some I've never even heard of before, and others you're just like, oh man, that game sucked, or yeah, that game was awesome. Pitfall, a horrible game, 1982.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, that was just like. What's really funny is like when I'm going through some of these games with like my son, he's like, Dad, the graphics on this are horrible. Because now everything's so lifelike,
Mm-hmm. If you can actually Google and look up the worst video games of all times. And there's some stuff I've never even heard of on here. There was a game called Hotel Mario. I never even heard of that one.
Leisure Suit Larry. Do you remember that game?
No.
Did you ever hear that? That was a computer game that you basically typed in a command and it would do. It was, I believe it was an adult game at the time. Yeah.
There's one, okay, since you just brought that up, there was one on this list. I wasn't going to say anything, but you brought it up at the exact time I'm reading this, right? It's called Lula 3D. And it says Lula 3D is a leisure game, basically, where a guy named Larry has no inhibitions.
Yep.
He can't get a girl into bed to save his life. So
that's the one.
Her adventures are cut straight to the bedroom.
Oh my God.
Oh my word.
And on that note, we'd just like to say, as you're listening to this, go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Decision Hour and leave a comment below and let us know what some of your favorite video games were. Excuse me, what some of your favorite retro video games were growing up as a kid. As I said, games. Maybe we should do an episode on board games, retro board games, later.
Yeah, there's some good ones.
So, I loved being a little gamer growing up. I still like to game every now and then when I'm with my son because he's kind of into it. We want to hear from you. Patty's into games. What kind of games are you into? Let me rephrase it. What type of video games are you into? What type of video games are you into? So make sure you leave a comment.
I still like the Sonic games and stuff. And while we were talking, I looked up what the name of that game is that I had that had no wires on it, and it was called the Kinect. It was for Xbox. Actually, my goal today is to go to GameStop and see if I can find an old Xbox with a Kinect, because that was so fun.
That's the one where you had to you had to hold it, right? It was like a remote.
No, you don't have to hold it at all.
Oh, no, the Kinect had the thing that sat on the TV and it followed your movements.
Yeah, you could they had all sorts of stuff. They had obstacle courses and dance things. I like you could actually play with people in other locations too. So if I'm in Michigan and you have a friend in California and you want to play, I don't know I can't think of the name of the obstacle course one, but it's really fun. Like you literally have to run in place and jump. It's like a lot of physical activity. So I was thinking I could do that here, and my daughter in California, we could play, you can see each other. It's super cool. And there might even be something newer than that out that I don't know about that I'm going to go find out today. Cause now I'm super excited.
Now now it's turning into the virtual reality things, which are crazy. Mm-hmm. So, all right, Patti, we're getting up on time. What else do we want to talk about? What else message do you want to give the people about retro video games? This was a fun one.
Yeah, it is. I think that with anything, if you get anything out of it today, I guess, is remember the times that you had that were fun and try to have some more fun like you used to be able to. Yeah,
absolutely. That's... Yeah,
I don't know if that came out a little weird, but you get what I'm saying. I'm just going to agree with her. Yeah, it's to think back at the times where you still have your innocence, and it's fun because it's fun to sit down and play those games again. So before we let you go, got to give a huge thanks to our parent network, Heroes Media Group. Go check them out. All the shows and new sponsors that are coming on board. Simply go to www.heroesmediagroup.com. If you're interested in becoming part of the HMG family, they are hiring contributors, bloggers. Maybe you got a show idea, send them an email, info@heroesmediagroup.com. That's all the time that we have today for retro video games. For Patti, I'm Adam. You've been listening to The Decision Hour.